Hi. Today we're going to set the action on an acoustic guitar. There are three main adjustments. I'm going to show you what order to adjust them in so that you'll have the best results. Why don't we just get going? Okay, the first thing I'm going to tell you is you don't need a lot of tools in order to adjust the action on your acoustic guitar. We need a capo. We need something to adjust the truss rod, either an Allen wrench or some kind of a socket for a end nut, whatever you need to adjust the truss rod, that's what you need. And we need a small three-cornered file. Those are all the tools you need. So let's get going. Like I said in the intro, there are three areas that you're going to adjust to get the action down low. The first area is the neck. And the truss rod adjustment area is typically from a couple frets away from the body joint out to the neck. This is the area that's adjusted by loosening or tightening the truss rod. Regrettably, there's nothing that can be done about the neck joint and this area here, but we will pay attention to this right now. The next area that you will adjust is at the bridge area, and then the final area you adjust is the nut. So that's the sequence of events. We had address the straightness of the neck, we work on the height at the bridge, and we work at the height on the nut. So let's zoom in a little bit and get going. Okay, like I said, the first area that we're going to address is the straightness of the neck, and we adjust that with the truss rod. Generally, the truss rod works when the neck joint is the 14th fret. From about the 12th fret out, this heel on the guitar makes that stiff to where it doesn't adjust. So really about the 12th fret out is the adjustment area that you get. So how do you tell if it's straight? We're going to fret the first fret. I'm going to fret, I like to use the 14th fret, and the string forms a straight edge that you can get a feel for what's going on with the neck. So if you push on the string and you get a little bit of deflection, you can see there's some movement there of the string. I've got about a paper's thickness of space between the string and the frets, and a little more up there, so the neck is not perfectly curved right, but I like to have just a little bit of relief in the neck. If you have a lot of relief, or the string is way off the neck, your neck is probably concave, warped, and the truss rod needs to be tightened, which brings it down straight. If the string is touching the full length, you may have a back bow and might need to loosen the truss rod just a little bit. Okay, on this guitar, the truss rod adjustment is accessed through the sound hole. You use an Allen wrench to adjust this one, so we're going to insert that. And if your neck has too much bow and needs to come down, we're going to tighten it just a little bit. If it has a back bow, we're going to loosen it a little bit, and that adjusts the neck. Now, when you adjust, I'm going to suggest, and I'm not going to do this on this one because it's just right, but I'm going to suggest you go a small distance and give the guitar a little bit of time to adjust. Again, we're doing this with guitar up to pitch, full tension, not slacking the strings out. So we're going to go slow. As soon as you feel some movement in that nut or the whatever the adjustment is, give it a couple of minutes to rest, play it a little bit, come back, adjust it. It's better to do 3 or 4 small adjustments, giving it some time in between, rather than giving it a big adjustment, a couple turns, because it may go too far and you'll be going back trying to adjust it. So give the guitar a little time to adjust. Again, the strings exert a lot of tension on the guitar, and it takes a little while for that to equalize. Some guitars are the truss rod adjustment is accessed through the headstock, but the system is the same. Go slow. Tightening pulls the neck back toward a back bow position. Loosening gives you a little bit more relief. Again, I like to have just a little bit of relief in the neck to give the string vibration a little bit of more access toward the center of the string. There you have it. If you want the neck to come down from a bowed condition, then you tighten. If you want the neck to relax from a back bowed condition, you loosen the truss rod a little bit. Again, go slow. Okay, we're going to head down to the bridge area of the guitar. Okay, this is not the bridge area, but this is what we're going to do right before we start adjusting the bridge. We are going to put a capo on the first fret. Why do we do that? The reason is, if the action is high at the nut and you adjust the bridge down to a nice low action and then you still have a high action here at the nut, it changes your intonation, and it also makes the guitar hard to play. And if you decide to lower your action here at the nut, it's going to be too low throughout the guitar and you will have some buzzes. So we're going to take that into consideration, pull it down to the first fret. So we are going to be dealing with the string height on as it relates to the frets and not as it relates to the nut. Okay, now let's go for the bridge. Okay, here we are at the bridge. The first thing that you want to do before you start adjusting, and if you already own the guitar, there's not, you own it. If you're buying a guitar, you want to look at this before you buy it. Take a look and see if there's any small cracks in between the bridge pins. If there's any cracking where the saddle comes out of the bridge. We also want to take a look at the back area right here and make sure that the bridge is not pulling up, because if it's pulling up you've got some other issues. And you also want to sight across the guitar, hopefully you can see that, so that you don't have some bulges or bows, meaning that the guitar is structurally deteriorating. We want the guitar to be, the bridge to be fastened properly, not pulling up, no cracks, and we want the back of the guitar to be flat. Okay, here we go. Now, again, I'm going to leave the tension on the guitar, except for one string at a time. We want to give the guitar as much consistency of tension as possible. Acoustic guitars are heavy. They put a lot of stress on the guitar. They do pull the neck back. They do pull the bridges up. So they will do things. So you want to leave the tension on all the strings. Guitar is tuned up to pitch with the type of strings you like. And we are going to loosen one string. And we're going to take our three-cornered file, and where the string rests, usually leaves a little mark, we are going to make a couple passes with the three-corner file to make a little notch where that string's going. We are going to have the file parallel to the guitar body. We don't want to angle it back because that would cause the string to articulate off the front. We're going to, in another episode, show you how to intonate this type of a bridge. So you want to do it flat, and then you can peak it wherever you want to. So we're leaving that flat, make a couple passes, then we bring that string back up to pitch, we check the action, make sure we're not buzzing, and I'm pulling that pretty hard because I want it to buzz if it's going to buzz. Now we still have some room we can go down, so we loosen the string again, pull it to the side, make a couple more passes, and then tighten it back up. Check for buzzing. You don't want to get it so low that it starts to buzz. So get it down to a comfortable action. Generally what I like to do is lower it a noticeable amount where the action is better, but possibly not as low as it can be, but you want it lowish. And that's going to depend on your neck system integrity, which takes into account the neck joint and the fretboard that's laying on the body itself. If you have a little hump or dip in that area, that's going to mean that your action has to be a little bit higher. So go slow, check every fret for buzz. If you've got no buzz at all, keep going until you're comfortable. Then move on to the next string. We're going to loosen that enough to pull it to the side. And again, with the file absolutely parallel with the body. We're going to make a couple passes where the string rests, and you're going to notch it down. And the string is going to be falling down into this. Now, why don't we just take the strings off and file the top of the saddle? Well, if you take all the strings off, number one, the guitar relaxes. Number two, when you file this, you don't have a reference point for the strings, and you may get two low ones here. That's the typical thing that happens. High, high, okay, okay, too low, too low. That's generally what happens, because you're not going to get it contoured with the neck, and you're doing it blind. You don't know, you can't reference. So we're doing this one string at a time, leaving the tension on the guitar, but you're going to have a bridge full of notches when you get done. Now, as I said, this is a bridge that I have done that operation to. We didn't go very far, but I have actually made some pretty deep notches in the saddle to get the height correct. So some people are bothered by that, some are not. I personally would prefer to not have a group of grooves on the saddle on my guitar. So next time I change strings, and I don't generally take all the strings off, but I will risk it for this, take the strings off, take this off, and take a file and smooth that down, but you're using your notch bottoms as an absolute ground zero. You don't want to get quite down to that. You can leave a little bit of a notch for the string to rest in, makes it vibrate better, to be supported just a little bit on the sides, but you don't want the string way down into the saddle. Anyway, that's how you do it. You just take this and file it off and put it back, string your guitar back up, and hope everything goes okay. Okay, we have straightened the neck. We have adjusted the height at the saddle, and we are now taking the capo off. We're going to see how much we need to take out of the grooves in the nut to lower the action. The way we do that, we are going to fret the first fret, and we're going to see how high the string is at the second fret. Then we're going to go open, and we're going to see how high the string is off the first fret. So there is our ideal, I'll call it. That is the height that we adjusted the bridge using. And we'd like the same amount of distance from the first fret that we have from the second fret. So I've got a little extra distance there. So we're going to deepen the slot in the nut. So guess what? We're leaving this guitar tuned up. We're lowering one string. We're taking our three-cornered file, and this time, rather than being parallel with the neck, we are going to stay parallel with the headstock. So we're leaning that back so that when we're done, the string articulates off of the leading edge, or the fingerboard edge of the nut. That is the proper place for the string to cut off, so to speak. So we want to have that slot angled back at the same angle as the headstock. So we're going to take a couple passes at that. Put the string back. Tune it up. And then we're going to go through our little drill and see how much height we have compared to first fret to second fret, nut to first fret. And when I generally leave it just a little bit higher, because sometimes open strings will vibrate a little harder. Excuse me. So once you have the low E where you want it, move on to the A, move on to the D, G, B, E. Do each one individually, leaving the guitar under tension the whole time, and you will end up possibly with a little deeper slots than you like the look of. So next time when you change your strings and you're taking the grooves out of your bridge saddle, take your file and smooth those down, but don't take the notches all the way out. Leave about half a string depth in those notches. Now at this point, I'd also like to just mention that the headstock has a bit to do with how the guitar responds to all this. So if you have machine heads with the jam nuts on top, make sure those are snug. Take a look at the screws in the back, that they are snug so that these are tight when you tighten the strings, because that'll give you some issues with tuning and the stability of the guitar. So you want to just kind of give the guitar an overview, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our little video. I hope this gave you a tip or two that you can put into application, and I'll see you next time.